Wrestling is dangerous enough as it is, but add in some foreign objects, as WWE stars like to do, and the risk level increases exponentially. Thankfully, most weapons-based spots tend to go off without a hitch, even if they do hurt like a mother flipper, but every now and again they come close to going very, very badly. Whether they involve tables, ladders, or chairs, oh my, wrestlers are reminded of the thin margin for error and left feeling relieved after a near miss. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 WWE weapon spots that almost went terribly wrong. Join us. Number 10, rope break. If there's one thing Edge, Christian, Matt and Jeff Hardy didn't want to do on the September 25th, 2000 episode of Raw, it was have themselves a ladder match. Just 24 hours earlier, the two teams had put their bodies on the line in a thrilling cage match at the Unforgiven pay-per-view, which saw the Hardys win the tag team straps. Feeling battered and bruised, the foursome were nonetheless instructed to go out and deliver another thrill ride, since this particular episode of Raw was the TNN debut. While they dialed down the craziness a smidge compared to previous and future efforts, the match featured no shortage of high spots and big bumps. In one, Matt Hardy delivered a back suplex to Christian from the middle of the ladder, routine in the grand scheme of things perhaps, but the landing was almost catastrophic. And that's because Matt and Christian came within millimeters of hitting the back of their head and neck off the bottom rope. It was a very close call that perhaps went undetected by a lot of fans, but Jerry Lawler on commentary sensed the danger and noted that that would be it if they had made contact with the rope. Number 9, Sliced Dread. Another scary ladder-based almost mishap now, this time from the positively bonkers 4-team WWE Tag Team title affair from Armageddon 2006. This was actually an unadvertised bonus courtesy of SmackDown General Manager Teddy Long, who added ladders, M&M, and the Hardys to the scheduled regular match between Paul London and Brian Kendrick and William Regal and Dave Taylor. Joey Mercury probably wishes he didn't get the call, since his face infamously exploded when Jeff hit him with a ladder seesaw spot. Mercury was rushed to the back, and the 7 remaining competitors were forced to improvise the final 10 minutes as things threatened to go off the rails. In an unplanned spot, according to London, Kendrick hit Regal with his sliced bread number 2 finisher off the ladder. Unfortunately though, they didn't have enough room to hit the move cleanly, resulting in a very awkward landing. Regal came within inches of snapping his neck off the bottom rope, while Kendrick landed badly on his shoulder. Granted, it's not the way these two pros would have wanted the move to end up, but it could have been a lot worse. Number 8, the Rib Break Kid. Shawn Michaels was chosen as Ric Flair's final opponent at WrestleMania 24 because it was deduced that if anyone could get one last great match out of the aging Nature Boy, then it was the Heartbreak Kid. And that train of thought turned out to be right, as Michaels gave his idol a stirring send-off in a match filled with high drama. In his bid to make the bout memorable, HBK pulled out a couple of tricks that he reserves for special occasions, including a moonsault from the top rope to the floor. That was spectacular enough, but it was another moonsault that took fans' breath away, not to mention the breath of Michaels himself. Echoing his main event with John Cena from the previous year, Shawn went to hit an Acai moonsault with Slick Rick standing in front of the announce table. The dirtiest player in the game had him scouted, however, and moved at the very last second, sending the showstopper rib first into the desk with a sickening thud. Michaels legitimately cracked a rib on the move, but he's lucky it wasn't a whole lot worse. I mean, the man could have lost his damn smile, for goodness sake. Number 7, Spanish Die. Logan Paul should and has been commended for just how quickly he has taken to this whole sports entertainment thing. As well as having a natural charisma and athleticism, he's shown himself capable of the spectacular, such as when he and Ricochet collided in midair during one of the more memorable moments from the 2023 Royal Rumble. The two men would also go viral the next time they attempted a tricky stunt, though not for the reason they would have wanted. Toward the end of the wild men's Money in the Bank ladder match at the namesake premium live events, both men were standing on a ladder when LA Knight pushed them towards the ropes. They were supposed to land simultaneously on the top rope, from where Ricochet would hit a Spanish fly through a table on the outside. Sounds simple enough, doesn't it? Well, no, obviously it doesn't, and obviously it wasn't, something that Ricochet and Logan Paul found out the hard way. They lost their balance, scrambled to quickly recover, and ended up just about completing the move, with the rookie fortunate enough to walk away with just a scraped shoulder. To be honest, he was fortunate to walk away at all. Number 6, Dudley Do Wrong. As Boyz, Hardy and Dudley approached their historic first-time pay-per-view meeting at the 2000 Royal Rumble, they spent the weeks leading up to the match putting each other through tables. After Matt beat Devon by DQ on the January 20th, 2000 episode of SmackDown, the two teams began brawling, with the Dudleys getting the better of the situation. But the Hardys would soon turn the tables, literally, when they managed to put both of the former ECW standouts through their favorite piece of plunder. First, Bubba fell backwards off the stage through 2 tables after taking a good old-fashioned unprotected chair shot to the face. Then Matt jumped off the stage, putting Devon through a table with a leg drop. Turns out though that leg drop was a twofer, because as Matt fell backwards after hitting the move, he did so right on Bubba's face. Luckily, it was just his elbow that made contact and not the bulk of his body weight, though Bubba's eye was busted open by the impact. Things would continue to be hairy for the two teams the next time they met, which leads us nicely to number 5, a Stary Situation. The Hardys and the Dudleys made history at Royal Rumble 2000 when they competed in WWE's first ever tag team tables match. With plenty of time to play with and an enthralled Madison Square Garden crowd hooked on everything they did, the two teams produced a sensational stunt show that lingered long in the memory. While fans may remember some of the bigger spots, such as Bubba falling backwards off a balcony through a stack of tables and Jeff hitting Devon with a swanton bomb off the same balcony through a table, one move earlier in the contest could have seen the match cut short and one of the competitors perhaps cut in half. Matt was eliminated from the match when Bubba hit him with a second rope powerbomb through a table. It was something Bubba had done before and would do countless times again, but on this night, the Duds changed the script slightly. Rather than the table standing on the canvas as per usual, the Dudleys raised the table by placing it on the steel steps. In the heat of the moment, they erroneously laid the steps facing inwards, giving Matt barely enough room to take the bump. This could have been nasty. Number 4, no pain, no game. The Hardys and the Dudleys weren't the only ones wreaking havoc in the world's most famous arena that night, of course. In one of the 2000 Royal Rumble's most anticipated bouts, Triple H defended the world title against Cactus Jack in a hellacious street fight. The hardcore legend of the Cerebral Assassin did not hold back, utilizing steel chairs, a barbed wire 2x4, and a bag of thumbtacks in a bout filled with glorious violence. Amazingly, the only major injury coming out of the match was suffered by Hunter during an innocuous-looking spot. While the two men were brawling in the aisleway, Foley hit the champ with a snap suplex on a wooden pallet. Regrettably, Triple H's calf struck a shard of wood, which caused a very deep and very painful laceration that poured blood. Not only did this make the match that much more difficult for him to get through, the injury happened at around the 5-minute mark, but it also opened the game up to the risk of an infection. A WWE home video exclusive featurette showed him getting sewn up backstage afterwards, and the tough soldier returned to action just 24 hours later on Raw. Number 3, play it again, Shin. The Symphony of Destruction match is a relatively new WWE concept which sees combatants destroy each other with instrumental weaponry such as cymbals, guitars, and drums. The February 21st, 2020 episode of SmackDown saw Elias, the match's originator, team with Braun Strowman against Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro. It was a predictably bonkers outing, building to a crescendo as the Wandering Troubadour hit the Swiss Superman with an elbow off the top rope through a table on the outside, while the Monster Among Men hit the King of Strong Style with a power slam off the announce table and onto a piano. It should have been through a piano, but WWE's props department apparently forgot to gimmick the thing. As a result, Nakamura hit his head off the edge of it, creating a cut that would require 9 staples to close. He could have broken his neck. Strowman, meanwhile, almost inadvertently did himself in by falling backwards, the back of his head only narrowly missing the sharp corner of the announce desk. Number 2, spiking the table. Human ragdoll Spike Dudley was no stranger to taking insane bumps and made a career out of getting chucked about by his customarily much larger opponents. The bumps usually went fine and were spectacular but safe. However, on the September 8, 2003 episode of Raw, little Spike's safety was put in the wrong and very green hands of La Resistance. It was up to Rene Dupree and Sylvain Grenier to guide Dudley backwards over the top rope and through a table sitting at ringside with a flapjack-like move. Failing to get the 150-pounder up high enough, they launched him towards the wood with reckless abandon, and poor Spike ended up coming up short, smacking the back of his head and neck off the edge of the table before hitting the floor. Amazingly, somehow he was not only not injured, but was actually completely fine. WWE did incorporate it into the storyline and had him sell it like he had almost had his career ended, with road agent Arn Anderson instructing Spike to wear a neck brace while accompanying Bubba and Devon to the ring at house shows. As for La Resistance, they walked away with an ass chewing from management and extra heat from the boys in the back. Number 1, RKO No. Daniel Bryan faced considerable odds on his way to winning the big one in the main event of WrestleMania 30. Not only did he have to beat Triple H in the show's opener just to get into the match, he was then beaten up by the game in the post-match and entered into the triple threat bout with Randy Orton and Batista seriously banged up. He would not be the only competitor to leave that match feeling the worse for wear. As the former Evolution teammates sought to eliminate the American Dragon from the equation, they hit him with a combined Batista bomb/modified RKO through the announce table. You know, I always wondered why WWE wrestlers would take the monitors off the table and throw them to the side somewhere before doing a move through the announce table, and after watching this, I now realize why. And that's because the poor Viper landed butt first on one of the bastards, which must have been more than a little painful. An unplanned fall onto a hard, sharp object like that could have been way worse than it was mined had Orton landed on it on his back. I think you're alright to go back to the chin locks after that one, Randy.